Hello, my loves. All right. I want to see if this is working okay. I do have my Bluetooth headphones in, so if you guys are jumping on here, and if you can please let me know that you can hear me okay. I know I get to see. Oh, there's loves. I see loves. I've already got loves and hearts. Oh, you guys are so sweet and amazing. I so appreciate it. I've got the gorgeous Maui background. Should I show you the Maui background? Right here. There's got the little sunshade up to give us a little bit of shade. Awesome. Liz, thank you for sharing that with me, that you can hear me. Tara, yes, sister. So good. Oh my goodness, my loves, my peeps. Wow, like I really feel like I haven't done a live in quite a while. And I have had it's like my world shifts and changes so fast and so quickly. Like one day and all that I evolve through and move through can feel like a month or like weeks. And I know some of my peeps here, I know you guys feel the same with how fast we tend to be evolving. And so really, if I was even doing this regularly, there would be so much. So this has just been like this buildup has been really wanting to come through. And guys, I've had some deep emotional moments about even what I want to share. And I notice even my little girl's like scared and feels, thank you, Tara. I appreciate you, love. Thank you so much. Just because it's such I found a whole new level of depth, which is obviously the gift that we're all in. So I'm going to give it just a second and check in. I've got, I do have something happening in this space, a sound healing, event that's happening in this space. And so I'll be aware of the time. And so if you guys can all hear me and everything is all good. And obviously this is a new space that we're meeting. We were really wanting to create a safe space for this of those who really wanted to go deep, because there's just a lot of really good things to share. And wanting to, we've been moving this obviously over to this page in this space so that we can affect so many more people and lots more. So hi to all my loves that are jumping on. Aw, thank you, Nancy. That is so sweet of you. I'm so glad to see you guys. So pop in and even share like where you're at. I'm in Maui right now. I'm only here actually for a couple more days. And then I am headed to India. I'm back to India, which I'll probably back in India for maybe a good 4, 5, 6 weeks. I have some really intense stuff showing up there. And then I actually got invited to do some really deep sacred portal work and sacred sites and medicine work and ceremony and grid activating parts of the planet in Peru. So I'll be in Peru, and then I'll have had the opportunity to show up to be in Brazil to do some of those things and be with John of God too. So I actually kind of know where I'm going for a little bit coming up here. So yeah, please tell me where you guys are at. Tara's in Florida. I knew that. Awesome. Australia, Danny. I love my Australia peeps and your sexy voices. Santa Cruz. Awesome. You guys are so amazing. Great. Cool. Well, let's share, shall we? Nancy, you're in Utah. Ah, awesome. Yes, that Utah was where I was born and raised. That was the home base. So I can still say fur instead of for. That still comes out. And Layton instead of Layton. So there's all that Utah accents will still probably come out. You'll catch those. So yeah, guys, this is, I'm calling this kind of Unplugged and Unleashed, because what I really, really want to share, and I want to kind of start off with these important depths of truth bombs coming through, because no matter how long you're going to be here, and again, I don't even know how long I'm going to flow, what's going to open up, what's going to channel, what's going to happen. Yeah, I felt so intensely, almost like this deep, deep sadness that came through me as I've been diving into my experiences and my human design and my gene keys even more, and these things that have assisted me in seeing where we get stuck in humanity, which I already knew, and yet shining such a greater light on it, and me seeing my role in it, and actually feeling like this feeling of shame, or this feeling of just deep sadness of how we're all still reflecting this gap, keeping us from our perfection now. So like my intention here is to be as vulnerable and fucking transparent and authentic as I can be. I found where like I go into my shit and my experiences that are, I believe and I teach that that's where the gold is, obviously. And come out of it and say, hey guys, I was in my shit and here's my gold. And there's a disconnect there. Okay. And I'm taking full responsibility of that. And I want more than anything for you guys to realize that I'm not here to be a perfect role model. If anything, I'm here to be an perfect role model. And that's actually a challenge for me to say, because I've been speaking and teaching the opposite for so many years, meaning I've been teaching for years, you're perfect now. Okay, so this is why I want to get really clear with the minute and the micro alignments happening, because that's what I geek out on. That's what I geek out on frequency, and I geek out on the unseen and like the micro alignments that are creating the macro. That is why we're all running around and doing bullshit surface self-empowerment that isn't working. And this is one of the things I saw. And so really wanting to speak to being an imperfect model. And the reason that is like, can I say that, is because there's a bigger or a more clear understanding here, is that I believe you're perfect. I believe I'm perfect. I believe it's a bullshit game when we continue as a society to go, it's not about perfection, it's about progression. You're gonna get there someday. Like, just focus on progressing. And although we think that is a positive framework and a positive mentality, and that's like, yay, I'm moving towards it, what we actually are telling our core self is, I am not perfect now. I am unworthy now. I can't receive it now. When I have this, then I'll be worthy of that. Or when, that shows up, down, when I finally get the business successful or the body, then I've arrived at perfect. That is so bass-ackwards, guys. That is so twisted in how we truly are. So there's a challenge for me in speaking this language, because I want you to hear the message behind the language. Okay, and I'm already getting teary. Because my intention here, and what I've been diving even into more for myself, is you unconditionally accepting yourself. Unconditional self-acceptance. And that, my friends, is the role model for myself and that I'm choosing to be, which will look like me showing up imperfectly, instead of us having this place where the world doesn't require any more of us shouting from the rooftops, you can have it all, and you're not there yet. It's like we're bombarded by this, what we want to live up to and what we're striving for. And I just want to share all of it that's in that spectrum, instead of it being a beyond you kind of a spectrum. Because what I really want to communicate is the spiritual information and knowledge of seeing unconditional acceptance, of seeing that what we've been doing outside is looking for, people that have it figured out. And this is guy-wise, I'm taking full responsibility in that, what do? We select the pictures of our life and our life experience. And I'll share this picture with you. And I'll clean it up and I'll make it pretty. And then we're bombarded with looking at this world of everyone's pretty shiny Instagram pictures, right? And I do it too. I'm totally taking full responsibility of that's where my little girl is scared. That's where my little girl's scared. Guys, I grew up believing I was ugly. Ugly. I had such deep beliefs around me being an ugly being. And, so I want to get clear in that it's a really fine line of saying hey, I'm imperfect and I'm actually perfect. And I want you to hear the messages that you are so perfect right now. You've always been perfect, whole, and complete, that no matter what you're experiencing, it is perfect. No matter what shit you're in, we all know that the shit show in front of you is what you attracted, because your vibration is what your higher self, your true self, set up for you, is the kindest act in front of you right now to be able to receive, to evolve through all the things you wanted to learn, to have the next greatest, to actually have and understand the full depths of this human experience, all the depths of this human experience. And what I was noticing and just getting clear on is, looking at how disconnected unconsciously we are to that, because we're looking at all the pretty shiny things. And again, I have always been cool, I'm honor myself, I'm in my shit, I'm doing my thing, I'm feeling all things, and then hey guys, here's this. And And that's not actually the role model I'm meant to be, as painful as it came up for my little girl to be like, but I don't want to be in the mud and the shit. And actually what's interesting is in my human design, Nancy, I'm so glad you're crying and feeling all of that. There's so much energy happening, by the way, new moon energy, everything else. But when I really felt into this, it's like my little girl wanted to be the perfect role model. I wanted to be, my human design actually says I'm attracted to the shit. Take that in. I was like, oh, I don't want to be in the shit. I don't want to be in the mud. And if you look back at my life experience, I literally for a long, long time have been told over and over and over again, have had many experiences of looking at the contracts that I've created where I took on thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of contracts basically to be triggered the fuck out of nonstop through my life so that I could figure it out. Like, and that's why if you look back at my past experience, a lot of people don't know the depth of my story and really all of my experience. And that's why they actually want to do a documentary, because people are like, oh yeah, I went from like, okay, husband cheated, was raised like, had like some people here, the sicknesses or diseases or things that I had growing up, dad passed away, husband cheated, had 2 kids to feed, became a waitress, and then, oh, I'm $1 million coach. And not hearing the depths of not only the body struggles, but obviously the self-belief struggles, the sickness struggles, it's like I experienced almost every form of trauma, and I believe that I was gifted and I chose that so that I could truly be a vessel of having come through all those emotions and those experiences on the other side to stand as a place of going, oh, you can experience learning through love and joy and peace and ease and grace. Now I only learn through love and joy and peace and grace. And this is the thing around accepting abundance in all things, is the gap in it is that we're not actually like allowing and receiving every aspect of that. To receive the abundance, which means I receive all my emotions. Now think about this, guys. Love is the acceptance of all things. Love is not, well, I will love you when you show up this way for me. I will approve of you if it looks this way, if you do this, if I do that. That's not unconditional love, it's conditional love, right? Which is a form of domestication, which I've done a whole other live on domestication and how we get domesticated and we continue to self-domesticate. So mainly what I want you guys to hear is I don't have it all figured out. Like, and I would never, I've realized how tricky, I always believed that the ego mind is there to serve me. I don't actually have a resistance or rejection or separation to anything. Like, the ego is always just trying to actually do what it thinks we want and keep us in our comfort zone. But I've seen how the tricky ways of the ego can even, what we strive for is like, even to say like, I feel a passion to deliver this message for you guys. I feel a passion to share these truths, and this is my calling, and this is my purpose, and this is my dharma. And right now I am committed to serve the divine and serve humanity. So this is part of the call of the global citizen journey, shedding all identities, all attachments, all things that are, have any hold on sort of an identity for me, and being able to say, okay, I'm here as an open vessel to serve, and realizing that in that experience or in that, when we give that service is when we are fulfilled. So, but even in doing that, what happens here, let's say for instance, just in sharing here, someone says, oh, you've had all this experience, you have all this knowledge, or like we're putting up our pretty shiny pictures, and we put someone or something outside of ourselves on a pedestal. And this is why we're bombarded with this, all these Instagram pics, and their Facebook too, whatever, like all these ideas of, someone who's got it figured out and who has it arrived and who's made it to that place, right? And so then we put them on a pedestal, and that we're not that yet. We got to get to what they have to be there. And I don't want to be on a pedestal. This is what I've realized recently, even in that when it's a really shitty place to be, because what happens is the moment there's all this like, okay, I got to keep giving to you, I got to keep delivering, I got to keep showing up this way, I got to keep having pretty pictures and all these amazing experiences, and I gotta continue to give you what you're seeking and what you're requiring and what you're pulling on. The feeling that you think you're getting from looking at that, and the feeling I think I'm getting from being this identity, is actually a tricky high from the ego. It's not a real authentic coming from my sacral and my solar plexus of saying, is this truly, does my body have the energy for this? Is this being produced from my essence? Is this for my highest, greatest experience in life? My experience creates my vibration, what I give to the world. And so when I'm doing things still in an unconscious way out of trying to strive for approval and trying to be, show up for people in an identity, etc., that's being on a pedestal. And the moment I say, fuck y'all, I'm actually gonna be in my own experience, doing my own thing, because this is like, I'm here for my own evolution, and I can only reflect that so you can choose in on your own evolution. And then someone's like, you're not that cool anyways, you suck, right? And so realizing that it doesn't serve any of us to be put ourselves or someone else on a pedestal. Actually, the truth is, and what I want to be really just transparent about, as scary as it feels in all ways, and am focused on being even more intentional of sharing each piece of the journey through our shit, which is our greatest gifts, to receive it all, is about spiritual perfection. Is about how, being, to show up in a place where it's like, I'm perfectly human. We're all perfectly human. Okay, and being perfectly human means we chose in on experiencing all of it. We're here perfectly experiencing our human journey. And that's why for me it is like, we are perfect. You are perfect now. There is nothing outside of you. And so how about we embrace what we would call or see with our human language as imperfections? That I want to be an imperfect role model for you. That it is okay to feel fucked over. It is okay to feel sadness. It is okay to want to feel or, be yearning to feel like you're enough. It is okay to not feel like you're enough. It's actually okay to have all of this, to receive all of this. And, being in, and I mean, I realize a lot of you guys might not even know my story or like why I'm here and why I'm on this journey, and there's so many things I want to share about what I've learned and what I've evolved through. But what was really prevalent for me is just that I don't have it all figured out. And being in that place of allowing myself to receive all the feedback is why I haven't blocked it and have moved through to be in a place of living this kind of life. And so as I've been traveling and doing my journey, and this is really the thing though, around that actually, I'm being told to bring it back. No one has it figured out, okay? No one has it figured out. All of the pretty shiny picture people, me included, that have, that you are praising and preaching like you are worthy. Again, we're teaching somewhat of a truthful message, and it can get filtered through the ego and what all of our own scared little boys and scared little girls that really want to be that image and want to share that. And so it's like, all of us don't have it figured out. What we can tell you is what we've learned along the way to be able to be having a greater experience. And because it would be ridiculous for us to ever claim. It's just like someone who sits on it's a spiritual, like a spiritual soapbox. And I've heard a lot of amazing, beautiful people in the world that are Jedis and gifted mystics and have amazing multidimensional capacity will refer to humans as muggles. And that's really just saying like, I'm better than you. And that's actually the biggest spiritual bypass and unconscious way of being. So for anyone to say, I've got it figured out, I've arrived, is probably one of the more unconscious places to be. It's actually the more that I actually get opened up to, and the more that I learn, and the more that I understand, and the more that I receive and open up my DNA and all my capabilities, and the more that I see the connection to all things, the more I fall in love with every human in front of me. And that has been such a gift to actually enjoy and see the beauty in everything. And that is where we come full circle to having abundance in all things, having literally receiving, like I do speak and live. And so this is where I want to get clear, guys. I'm out there being like, guys, I'm blissed and blessed. I am magic and miracles every fucking day, every fucking moment. And that is true for me. In no way, or in every way, I want to speak the truth that you can have an amazing life experience, even coming from the place I came to, like a life of so much trauma, so much struggle, guys. I was bombarded by it. And to actually, I forget how intense that was. I forget, you know, what everyday people go through, because I literally have created an environment where I'm literally in bliss and miracles and magic every single day, all day long. And my shit that shows up, whoa. See all that? We got some wind going on. And guys, without having even people with tech codes around me, it's like, it's a little wobbly, and I'm like, and it'll be okay. Angels, will you hold this still for me? That'll be great. So, what was I saying? So it's like, even when my shit does show up, obviously, because it's all like even getting here, the reason I'm aware of this space and I'm have some stuff happening in this space in the next couple of hours is because when we even set up, my assistant Cami, my amazing Cami that literally like has my back and, you know, shelters me in so many ways that with everything going on, or just runs the details, had set up a guest house for me here. And when I got here, realizing that it actually wasn't a full-blown house that we thought, it wasn't all the amazing, you know, things that we thought. Actually, most of that was in the main house, and there was just kind of more of a mini guest house. And my little girl was triggered. It was like, being my sacred energy, being around other people. And so that is, in a way, like, again, like the human shit wants to show up. And it's like, that's my human shit. It was like, people like, you having an issue about sharing a kitchen and being around other people? And it was like, my little girl was more triggered that I didn't have a place for my altar to be set up, that like my space was more minimal. And it's like my sacred energy and like, you know, like all the processes and the things that I do, and to hold that space, and was like, how do I, and it was questioning, was like, do I get to go create another space? Because that's what I'm worthy of. I'm honoring my space and what I get to have. And I sat with it and was with it and was like, no, I actually get to be here. There's something here for me in what I get to share with others and what I get to receive, and allowing this flow, setting my boundaries in my space and honoring other people. And that, so what would be someone's shit shows up, and because it doesn't have to be hard, this is the thing I want you guys to hear, is surrendering to the ease. But we surrender to the ease when we actually surrender to unconditional acceptance of ourselves. When we actually surrender to like, oh, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling all this, and I can surrender into this feeling, knowing that this is actually for my greatest human experience, so I can have more joy, more love, more abundance, more peace, more prosperity. So how does this get to be easy? And actually, just like for the first day, I was like, I don't even know if I'm gonna unpack or not. I'm just gonna sit with this and be with all the emotions and what's actually bringing up fear for my little girl and how this gets to work. And guys, I have had the most phenomenal experiences and even created the most amazing connections and gone to the most beautiful places with some of these divine beings, that if I had created a different experience and just been in my own single house over the ocean, I wouldn't have had these experiences that was meant for this time, that allowed me to even grow into more expansion of love and more, you know, and like creating some things. I created a new moon ceremony last night for me and Ronnie, and it was just like the most beautiful thing to share with one of my divine brothers and help him move through some stuff, and actually just for me to even hold that space with seeing the divine masculine. It was like, whoa, how beautiful was this? Thank you, myself. Thank you, my true self. Thank you, my guides, and my you know, like aligning to all that. Thank you for setting this up for me. So, but moving through the shit gets to be easy when we actually surrender to that we are imperfect. And remember, if you're just jumping on, what I mean by you're imperfect, you're experiencing all these things, actually just our brain, and I don't even want to say our human brain anymore, guys. I realize how degrading that is, to even be like, oh, that's our human thoughts. Guess what? Our human is this glorious, gorgeous, divine being. Like, you are so brave. You chose the human experience because you were so, it is like the grandest growth, expansion experience for you to be and discover all of your gifts, all of your capabilities. This vessel that is your human vessel, this human innate being, this is the vessel for that expression. This is the vessel for that truth, for all that love and that light that you are. So it's like, it would be a lie for us to ever think that we have it figured out, because guess what, guys? We are not stagnant. So even if I had figured out how to, you know, how to go from a really struggling hard life, fighting my body, fighting relationships, fighting money, fighting everything. And I align to what most people be like, well, yeah, that's the life of having it all. Like, even in going to that, now it's shifted and evolved to the next. And so I'll kind of share, it's like me embracing imperfection, and I'll share a little bit of my story and like this how, because I want you to see how it is a paradox. So we embrace the paradox, because a lot of times we get so caught on the one message or mantra or affirmation that we're blocking actually the true ability to receive it all and receive everything that comes with it. So it's like we're so focused on that one thing, like we're striving for abundance and recognizing that we're blocking abundance in everything. And when we actually open up to the abundance of all things, an abundance of emotions, abundance of feelings, the abundance of, of experiences, like abundance in like all of it, that's actually when we're open to receive the abundance. And so for me, there's been this massive shift of, going from, it's like, because this is part of my gifts and my calling, and to just lean in and dive in and get in the mud and get in the shit and figure it out. And that's part of my gift and my calling, is like, I've actually moved through my life purpose. This is my third time. And what happens is I go through this whole evolution where I shed like and a lot of people will do this. A lot of entrepreneurs will get like, you create something, and so you're on this like strive to create something, and then you get up to this place where you're so fulfilled and it feels so good, and you've arrived at that place, like you've figured out a system or a way of doing it, whether it be masterminds or coaching or a product or whatever it is, it's like you've got it, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't feel so good anymore. It doesn't feel as satisfying, and you're like, it almost is like, oh, I have to make myself do that, or I have to strive for that, or I have to try to do that. And those are all lack scarcity feelings that aren't in the highest alignment of you saying, I'm worthy of feeling good all the time and doing everything that feels good and like creating the next thing that wants to flow through me. Because of course you've evolved. You've evolved and you've expanded, because there is no such thing as being stagnant. Perfection would be stagnant, you guys. Perfection would be stagnant. It would be stuck in one place. That's crazy. It's crazy, right? And so if we dance in our imperfections, we allow ourselves to dance in all of the imperfections, we find what's perfect for us. We find how to, and this is why you've probably heard me say, talk about like, you are your purpose, because whatever resistance is in front of you, whatever shit's in front of you, is what you require. It's what you called in and require for your next greatest experience. So it's not, well, how can I and go outside? It's actually what's in front of me right now. And so you are the purpose. And wherever there's a mess in your life, wherever there's resistance in your life, is where there's the message that you get to discover. It's where there's the peace that you get to find. So something that, as I was saying, I'll just go back real quick about the entrepreneurial thing, is like, because we're so trained, and again, what we're looking at, everyone's got to figure it out. So now I finally, I got to do all the things you're doing, have the system, etc., so that I can finally figure it out. My thing's still blowing in the wind. And then you got to figure it out, and it worked, and you made money, and yet, or whatever it was, and then it's like you're holding on to that thing because you're so afraid to let that thing go, because that's your identity. And actually, that would be to say, I want to stay small, because instead of actually going, first off, we can get curious and go, ooh, so like, how do I want to keep this as a part of what I share and serve with? And how would that look for me to do that on an authentic alignment of what feels good for me now? Guys, last year, so it was about 1.5 years ago, I started feeling called, let go of my masterminds. I stopped planning my retreats. I let go, I got clear that I was supposed to finish off my personal client contracts and completely leave the space open. I couldn't see past this last February. I had no idea, and like normally I could, I'm so open channel, vision, got all the guides talking, everything that's like, I can see full on out. I get the direction, the visions, I'm like doing this for humanity, etc. I'm shifting this for the collective. It's like, and it was like, just be. And that was the scariest fucking thing, is to just let it all go and be and surrender. And what happened, as I was mentioning, is that I was getting a whole new imprint. Like I'd fulfilled another purpose and was already downloading or upgrading in my system, in my imprinting, a whole new purpose to come through me. I actually was integrating with a whole new set of guides, which are the Seraphim guides. I was integrating a whole new, a whole new hara, like the whole evolution of me, and it was scary as shit. And it's like, I didn't know what my language was. I didn't know what I was to do. And from this journey, so what really showed up in this journey was, it's like everything was literally set up perfectly for me to go on this journey of what I was calling the journey of my aloneness, which, because I felt called to be alone, and there was all this deep imprinting that got to be healed around me being alone and being all over the world. Now, as I've leaned in and I've healed so many of those things, and I've done so many of these things, I'm just going to check the time. As I've done so many of those things, it's like I recognized how I was disconnected from even a whole nother level of love for myself. That it's like you go travel around the world, it's like, oh, you see all these beautiful couples everywhere, you see all these beautiful places, you're like, oh, if I just had someone to share this with. Because again, we've been conditioned to think that when I have all that, then I finally arrived. And I was, there was all these constraints and all these boxes and all these things that I felt made me uncomfortable. And what I'm experiencing now is where it's like, I love getting lost. I'm like, I know there's always a taxi somewhere. There's always someone to ask, and it's become the beautiful adventure of the amazing people I meet and the amazing things I find. And on top of that I am with me. Like, I am with me. Like, I'm worthy of seeing these beautiful places all over the world. I'm worthy of the most beautiful experiences. I'm with me. And that comes from a place of being in unconditional acceptance and letting go, being willing to let go of all these things we're striving so hard to hold on to, which is just lack and scarcity. It's just a lack and scarcity vibration, instead of actually like, I'm so worthy to receive the abundance of all these things. So how much more, what I love or just is coming through. It's like, I always say, how much more can I receive? And I'm like, how much more joy can I receive? Okay, and I mean, we could go into a whole sex conversation here. I really was like, man, there's so many unplugged things that I want to share on like this journey of what I've received and taking radical responsibility of your own self-pleasure. And literally the other night, I had one of the most amazing, magical, blissful, pleasurable, sensual, juicy, like my sensuality, my juiciness codes have gone through the roof with what I've evolved through recently, where everything, like I could have an orgasm off of everything, literally, like the wind blowing in and the smell of the flowers and the trees and the animals and the people that I meet. And so I'm literally under this amazing Milky Way, and went into this whole, after that day, had some deep little girl pain come up that I got to feel fully and be with fully and see where that came from and love fully. And then it's like loving myself. And I just kept asking, how much more can I receive? How much more can I receive? And I lost count of how much more I actually received. And then it's like allowing ourselves. So what it was coming through was, how much more can you allow yourself to feel? How much more can you embrace fully the human experience and let go of the idea of perfection, knowing you're perfect? And again, I want to emphasize, you're perfectly experiencing your imperfections, what we would call imperfections, and just the languaging that we have for it, but knowing that is the only way I receive all of that. That's the only way I receive getting to that level of having more love for myself, is I get to feel and be with all of what feels imperfect. And you know, because everything is perfect. We know that. We know that everything is perfect for us right now. So liberation comes from letting the story go. So something that I, support myself with is any time I feel any bit of resistance, and so I catch, is it my head? My head's playing here right now, because it's just a mental programming system. It's like I'm in a syndicate, I'm in a syndication, I'm in an illusion, I'm in a Maya, because my head is trying to figure something out, or if I feel any resistance. And so I want to try to control how I look for you. I want to try to control in any form. Control is controlling you. So I constantly remind myself, when I find any bit of resistance and my head wants to try to control what's really just scared, then it's like, that's actually still controlling my world. It's still controlling my reality. And how do I let go? And so me being here, I feel like there's so much just like sharing the transparent truth. And this is the thing, guys, I felt so sad by it, because I'm like, I've been doing that. I felt like I've been doing it. Like, my desire and intention for humanity is to serve the whole of humanity and to show up for you in that authenticity and that vulnerability. And I'm like, man, I've been fucking sharing my story for years. Like I teach you're free when you share it, because guess what? Then there's nothing to hide. And I remember being back in the day, being in that place where like I was so scared of what you would think about my body or how I'd show up or what I'd look like, and like I was so afraid to be seen. I was so afraid that people would find out that I had a cheating husband, because I thought that the thoughts of people would then be like, oh my gosh, she must have not been good at sex or, you know, something. It was like, oh, I wouldn't want, if people know that, then they're going to have a bad image about me. And being raised in a very strict religious environment, it was like, there's instantly these things towards, you know, you didn't provide enough, you didn't make it work enough, you weren't a good enough wife, you weren't a good enough mom, you weren't a good enough da-da-da-da-da. We have these programs and these associations to trying to be an image that is just a mental construct. And so I remember coming from that place and then getting so liberated and free to be able to say, guys, guess what? Yeah, this was my experience. I was anorexic and bulimic and I had all these sicknesses and all these diseases, and I, you know, fought and hated my body, and, you know, was raised poor and broke, and these are all the things that I struggled through, and this was what my marriage experience was, and this was this, and it was freeing to be like, guess what? There's nothing for me to hide. There's transparencies, there's nothing to hide, and there's nothing to prove. So me being here fully transparent, and I even recognize how the reason it affected me so much is because that has become so much of my divine calling, to be authentic and transparent and vulnerable and so just like here for humanity. It's like, and I have to drop my own little girl stories that are like, I just want to fucking look good. I want to be that. I want to be, you know, that, and some sort of idea that is to say that I'm not enough now. And I felt sadness because I was like, whoa, how did I get sucked into that ego trickery game that I was posting pretty pictures? And where do I still stay hidden when I'm in my shit? And where do I still not completely share all the processes and all the beautiful feelings of moving through our gorgeous human journey and emotion? Whoa, how have I hurt my brothers and sisters? And it really hit me hard just to take a hard look at myself, of where I'm not showing up imperfectly. Because I was like, but I'm not imperfect, I'm perfect, and I don't ever want to share that message. But there's power in the paradox. It's actually really powerful. There's power in the paradox, my friends. In knowing that we are all things. That when we look for us to be one thing, we actually reject and separate from something else. And something the other day, I found this interesting, was one of my team members had messaged me and said there was someone who had wanted to buy one of my products or programs, I think it was Divinity Keys, around the Gene Keys, and had said, I just have to know, is Marci a vegan? Because I know it's weird, but I want to support spiritual leaders that are vegan. And I thought that's so interesting, how we unconsciously block ourselves from receiving, right? So first off, I was like, I don't usually eat meat. It's very, very rare. And it's because I don't have a story or attachment around anything, or create a story or label around who I am, or create any separation. So it's like, you know, after I did DNA activation, all these things, it literally just was like, I didn't feel good eating meat. And then it's evolved so much more, being so connected to everything. And yet I would never say I'm vegan, because I feel like that's me saying I'm this way and you're that way. And whether that's not what I'm, you know, you can claim whatever you want to claim, and that's not to say that anything is right or wrong, but what I found interesting is someone that the Gene Keys or the Divinity Keys, that program around literally your divine map, your codes, your keys, the transmission of all the traits we have within us, as we're sitting here talking about being all things, having all 64 traits of the human design within ourselves, and which ones are our specific codes of activation, and which ones do we get to activate to receive even a greater amount of love and prosperity, etc. Like, holy fuck, whoever gets that information is gonna magnify their life experience. And yet, to say, I won't give myself that gift, I won't receive that knowledge and that information for myself, that gift, unless you are doing what I do, unless you're believing what I believe, unless you're being Again, that's conditional love. And that's actually blocking, that is just a reflection of how much we love ourselves. That I would block receiving even more love and more of something that would support me because I have a story and a perception. I'm in a simulation, I'm in a Maya, an illusion, a movie of what I think it has to be for me to be, and see how that sounds. It all sounds frilly, right? It all sounds like really good conscious stuff. It sounds beautiful to support people who are in alignment with the energy of all things. It sounds beautiful to support people who are, like wanting to support people who are protecting our animals. That all sounds amazing. And this is where the trickery ego, just like being on a pedestal, can mess with us to say, I'm telling you, you can have it all because you are worthy of experiencing abundance in all things and experiencing the most ultimate amazing life. You are worthy of the most epic, amazing, phenomenal love that gets to be easy and relationships being a joy. All these things that you get to align to as you move through all of your humanness and all of your shit to be able to have that. And I want you to hear that you can have that, but it doesn't come from rejection. It doesn't come from separation. It comes from unconditional acceptance. It comes from unconditional love. If I have this knowledge of and connection to animals and the plants and knowing that I'm connected to all things as a highly evolved being, I could never actually, if I'm in total integrity and alignment to my true divinity, I could never not only say something negative about myself, because that wouldn't be in alignment to the divine being that I am, but I could also never project on someone else or judge someone else or shame someone else or hurt someone else or blame someone else because they're me. Because I am in allness. We are in an all one energy and that connection. And so knowing that as a highly evolved being, I could never create separation because it's like, I'm just doing it to myself. Why would I hurt myself? Why would I do that to myself? Why would I separate myself? Why would I create blocks for myself? Why would I create a story of what you have to be? Why would I create conditions on myself? Why would I, create domestication or parameters or limits or boundaries? Instead, actually, as a highly evolved being and so much love for myself and my brothers and my sisters in humanity, even if I have this experience of what gives me freedom, hence maybe what gives me more connection to, my beautiful, glorious animals, then I can just actually love and honor and hold that field that I'm so grateful I have this understanding, this connection, and I can continue to be an example of being in this truth, and I can actually share love with people. I can be an example of love. But when I say, you know what, you're not like me, so I'm going to block off and I'm not going to give you my love, which is really just a reflection of not giving yourself love. We get this, right? I'm not going to invest in something that's going to give me that's going to be a greater experience for me. I'm going to withhold. All we're actually doing is being an image of, well, those people have a stick up their ass and they actually don't love anybody but them and themselves and their animals. That's how it could be perceived, right? All things are true. This is what's interesting, right? Is there is no such thing as logic. The mind just does not, I say the mind is there to connect the gaps for us, to be in our feeling body, to actually incorporate all of our operating systems. But the human trickery, and again, I'm catching myself in saying that, meaning how we've been trained as a human, is to try to figure it all out, to try to plan, to put it out there, to only move if, so we stay in an illusion and in a syndication instead of actually being right now in our human experience that is right now in this moment. Let me just check time-wise to make sure we're good. So I mean, guys, this is really, thank you guys for all the loving. I'm balling it out over here. This is what I mean by I really want to be the most authentic, vulnerable, transparent being that I can be, and I see how I can continue to still really want to hold on to being something pretty and having it all figured out, and I don't, and I could never claim that. And I really want to share that, is that I'm choosing right now my own liberation. I'm choosing right now my own freedom by saying to you guys, I'm going to share with you as much as of my imperfection, meaning anything that we might deem doesn't look perfect, and I want you to hear and know that it is my perfection. My imperfection is my perfection. It's me perfectly moving through all of my beautiful, gorgeous emotions and human experience, and in allowance to all of that imperfection, into loving myself and being here free and liberated. All I know is that I can hopefully hold a field and example for you to choose to be free and liberated, and see whatever places and ways we've blocked ourselves from that by trying to stick up to a human standard and looking at all the pretty shiny things that say, when I get there, I have it all, then I'm finally arrived. Instead of like, cool, like this is the level of experience I'm in right now. Can I embrace and love all this? And can I allow all this, that I create the abundance of feeling, the abundance of receiving, that allows me to turn around and healing this, receive the next level of the greatest relationships, the greatest level of prosperity, the greatest amount of joy that we're able to receive. Because I definitely am experiencing a blissed and blessed, amazing life. And so to choose even more, and this is the point, I'm not stagnant there. Like my life shifted where people would say, oh, you're there, like my beloved, and you know, I got my kids, and I got the magical manifestation mansion, I have $1 million clients, and I'm literally traveling the world with my retreats booked out a year in advance, and my masterminds, people clawing to get in at 30 and 50,000 a piece, and da-da-da-da-da. That was all there, guys. And everything in my soul said, let it go. Because it is not you. It is not your identity, and I'm called, again, interesting, called and attracted to go through almost what, like, beyond the comfort zone and deep into the shit of where people would be like, no, let's stay here where it's safe. We've made it. We've arrived. And my soul was like, there's more for my evolution. There's more for me to experience. There's more for me to express. There's more for me to see and to hear and discover within my multidimensional capabilities. And of course, as I listened with ease, surrendering to the next allowance of what it got to be, that all shifted and shed away. And I got led on this beautiful journey where I'm like, no one could ever even buy my time right now. Like I had the tricky ego, wanted to sneak in with like someone wanting to personal coach. And with us shifting to sharing, like literally my programs that were thousands of dollars, I felt this intense shift in me of just serving, having the ability for everyone to be served with the knowledge and the truths and the information, the things that, you know, my experiences allowed me to see, and my gifts are integration. And so it's like making the complex simple and filling in the gaps and knowing exactly how to be this behavior and pattern and align yourself to move through these things to create it to be your experience. That's just been my gifts that I've discovered. And it's like people, so they were very high value. And because I valued myself, they were of high value. It was thousands of dollars for any of my programs. And really expensive to be in a mastermind with me or have, you know, retreats that you were with me. And in the last, as all this got called to be released as a part of the identity, what came through me was just this deep, intense desire to make myself available to serve the divine. And that meant I'm serving humanity, and as I serve the whole, I receive from the whole. And so there's been this shift for us, me in total trust and surrender, of saying no to any of the ways or systems or things that were creating the abundance before, and saying, hey, I'm giving myself full permission for freedom and liberation. How can I share freedom with you if I'm not living in the freedom myself? And I realized I'd made it to a place that was society's idea of successful. But could I wake up every single day whenever I wanted to and literally have no attachment to creating or doing something because it was connected to where I received my identity, where I was receiving validation, where I was being on a pedestal, where I was, oh, I could create this for the business and we can do this retreat and da-da-da. It was all things that I could do, yet it's like that's a whole nother level of staying in a cycle and not truly allowing absolute freedom of what wants to come through. And what I got called to do is like, literally, you don't get to go, like my whole being wanted to be like, well, okay, if I'm gonna go on this whole journey, where's the best place to learn this? Where's the best place for this medicine or this activation or this? And everything was like, no. You don't get to operate from that place anymore. You're not seeking anymore. You're actually being with all that you are. And so my journey I got called to in my journey with myself was really, can I be with all of me? Can I be with all of me? Like all of me. And it's been intense to be with all of me. And how many years have we all been conditioned to not be with ourselves, to be outside of ourselves, right? We're bombarded. We're bombarded with looking outside of ourselves instead of honoring
the beauty in who we are in all of us. And so really this being with all of me was a surrender and saying, all the tricks wanted to come up for me to jump and me to create something else and do this. And it's like, breathe it aloud, be with all of this, be with all this feeling, be back in trust and surrender in the shift of what you're called to do and be. And I wouldn't be experiencing this, this sacred, beautiful, juicy amounts of joy and love and all the things I'm experiencing had I stayed where I was safe, had I stayed stagnant in perfection. I actually dove deep into imperfection. What other layers of my imperfection can I find when I don't stay in my safety net? When I don't stay in that comfort zone of what I've created and what feels safe and comfortable, and the next evolution of me, the next evolution discovery of my heart fully expanded and expressed and me fully being seen. And guys, it's as much as you'd think like it's not a big deal for me to be seen. I came from like scared as fuck to be seen. And so then there's these whole new evolutions of being like seen in new layers. And that's where I was like, man, did I hurt my fellow brothers and sisters by like being like, okay, I went through my shit. Guys, hey, here's my gold out of my shit. Instead of like letting you see all of the imperfections. All of our imperfections. And that's what we get to totally truly embrace, is all of our imperfections. And so it's like, really, can we drop the mask? Can we stop, finding or looking outside or looking at the shiny pictures and thinking then we'll have arrived, and actually claim your arrival now and claim receiving all of it now, and being that like I am perfectly imperfect and I'm imperfectly perfect. That's going to be the it's like my what I keep calling myself back to is, am I unconditionally accepting of myself? And if I'm unconditionally accepting of myself, I am going to only receive and be unconditionally accepting of others. And what's interesting, guys, I want to share this, is that for a while now, as I shared that there was this shift in me that was like, I just felt just so much call to just serve the divine and serve humanity. And it like didn't appeal to me anymore to be like, $1 million clients. Like, because I mean, before that was, again, my purpose before was really assisting even the high level leaders to then evolve and align in their frequency and alignment to their divinity to help so many more people. And I'm still helping leaders. I'm just not doing it one-on-one or in my masterminds or in my retreats or getting my personal space. Yet it was like, as this came through me, it's like I knew my highest intention had become that my experience was like, hey, you know what? I want to experience being at peace and harmony with all things and all beings and all experiences. And I also choose to be the essence or the vibration of divine unconditional love. And the reason why I say divine unconditional love, I'm just gonna check the time here, divine unconditional love, is because when we utilize the surface self-empowerment stuff, we're just like, I'm receiving love. Well, guess what? When you say you're receiving love and you're focused on receiving love, you're also asking for the type of love that you have attachments to. Meaning, what is your conditioning around love? If it's hard or a sacrifice or settle, if it's scary, if it's, any of those things, you're asking for that because that's your internal representation to love. So I ask for a clear divine frequency, the divine frequency of unconditional love, for me to receive that. And when I do ceremony, I do all these things, and I ask to receive those codes, and I'm literally activating that in my pineal gland and all of my cells in my being. It's like every cell of my being the essence and vibration of divine unconditional love, right? So that would mean that if you come into interaction with me, you feel completely accepted. You feel divine unconditional love. And I'm holding the field, and I've taught this in my Epic Relationships Breakthrough Program and the stuff that I've done around relationships and conscious languaging, is that, my whole job, if you use a word for it, in relationship is to hold the field of love, support, and acceptance. That's it. And I have the most amazing relationship with my boys. And actually, I don't have one single relationship in my life that is in resistance. Every single relationship in my life is amazing. And it doesn't mean that I don't get triggered by relationships, but because, again, going through this pathway of embracing all the reasons why I got triggered, embracing all the contracts I had with people, etc., allows me to heal and take full radical responsibility to then just see, thank you for what you're reflecting and what gets to happen here, that now I see you only in love and light. And I actually hold the field and accept you to have whatever experience you're having in love and light. Just like the story with the vegetarian saying, you know, like instead if it was like, hey, I love all you beings, and guess what? This is something that I really love and have learned that has given me more freedom. How much more would we receive that message than to say like, oh, you're not like me, so I'm not going to give you my love. So bringing it to where knowing there's two things that I was focused on every single day as being a part of my intention. My intention being that I'm a divine frequency of I'm the divine frequency of unconditional love, and also the other space being that I'm in harmony and peace with all things, all beings, and all experiences. Now, me, every morning when I get up, I do my breath work and my spiritual practices, and part of my intentions and alignment is saying that and being clear on that and going through, you know, I mean, like, again, we could go everywhere. I could be like, do mudras and show you guys how to like visualize and see all this. And yet when I do that, what's interesting, and this is funny, right? The universe, because I'm declaring this, the universe continues to show me where I am not in harmony with all beings or things or experiences, and where I am not a reflection of unconditional love. And that is why this journey with myself, and knowing if ultimately for me to be fulfilled, because again, you guys, your life is about your life experience. It's not about what you achieve. It's not about what you achieve. I had achieved it all, and I was called to more experience, more of this juiciness that we signed up for, that is actually the human experience. It's not to just arrive at what a construct or structure, what other people say your life is. And again, coming from where I was raised, very hardcore, you know, Mormon, LDS, and a strict religion, and what it was supposed to be like, etc. If I didn't move through and question those things, I wouldn't be experiencing, I would have never even gotten to the place where I could share with you here, or share with you where I had been and now here. And it's going to continue to evolve as I love my imperfections, as I unconditionally accept myself, as I perfectly love my imperfections and imperfectly love my perfection. It's like, it's all of that, right? And so the universe has showed me where I'm not in alignment. And I like laugh and giggle. And again, it's so easy. We can make this so easy. I laugh and giggle because it's like the moment something like, again, I want to control something, or I feel resistance to something. It's like, well, that's interesting. And this started for me when I first left and I went to Portugal. And I had big, huge, scary spiders. I had this gorgeous place, this gorgeous whole villa place, like up in the mountains, were just epic and beautiful. But I'm in like kind of this like cottagey house, and there's like huge, massive spiders, and there's like ants that wanted to come out in the kitchen. And I remember being like, one day I got frustrated and was just like, brush the ants off the kitchen thing. And then I was like, oh, that totally wasn't me being at harmony and in peace with all things and all experiences and all beings. Like, I just totally just like, threw you off a cliff, and I felt bad. Because I've aligned myself so much to being in connection with all things. It's like, whoa, that energy was resistance energy. And I know, guys, this can be like, you're talking ants, and maybe you're in a place where you're like, no, I still like, you know, squash the ants or spray the ants. For me, it was like, wait, if I'm ever in reaction of being a push, and this is how fine-tuned and in micro alignment I'm choosing to get with myself, is like, if I'm ever in any sort of resistance, actually what's really true, and where I was like, whoa, I moved into your space, you guys are actually accepting me here, so what do I get to do to actually be at peace with this or create a solution for this? And that was one of the first things that showed up for me. And then it's like, and that's just an example of you know, ants. And so instead of us being in resistance, we get to actually go, whoa, like, where am I not in harmony with life? And when you look at your shit that wants to show up, it's like, you know, it's like we treat others as we treat ourselves. We treat ourselves as we treat, what did I say? I said we treat others as we treat ourselves, right? And we treat ourselves as we treat others. It's all a divine reflection. And we actually train others in how to treat us. So we can see where if we're not in harmony with like the imperfections of others. This is actually what hit me really hard, where I cried my eyes out, is as I was looking at this and seeing like, how did I hurt you guys by not showing all of my shit in every way, by not being that voice of like, I want to be the imperfect role model, not striving to be the perfect role model. I want to share with you the imperfection of our perfect human experience and how perfect that is, right? And so it's like, as I was feeling and being with all of that, and realizing, you know, how the disconnect in that, you know, I realized like it actually was, if I can't allow my own imperfection, what I'm doing is I'm not able to receive or hold space for others' imperfections. Just sit with that for a second. If I'm not willing to accept my own imperfections and love myself through all imperfections and be with myself through all imperfections, all that is a reflection of is how I push away and guard, and why I'm triggered, and why I hold space, why I separate from others, because I have a judgment about their imperfections. And is any of that really love? Or it's definitely not unconditional love. It's only conditional love. And so when I was like, whoa, and I can see how we can like use conscious languaging to trick ourselves and validate it, and to say, because guys, I believe in, like, my energy is so sacred. We are very picky about who gets in my space and who I give time, effort, or energy for. And that's a level and a reflection of my own self-worth. Yet we can get pulled into, again, like some Jedis and ninjas and mystics I know that are amazing divine beings with a lot of love and light. And guys, just because someone has multidimensional capabilities and they're gifted in certain ways, they also get to work on their human side. Otherwise, you're in the clouds, but you're an asshole. You're an asshole to humanity because you think you're so fucking awesome. You're in the clouds and you can speak to angels and do all these things that you don't allow or hold space for or love the imperfection of humanity. And that's what I mean by this, is that when I'm saying, like, you know, again, this is why I said people say humans are muggles or humans are this, and that's just like putting a constraint around. That's just like if we were in racism, right? And we were like, that race is that, and that race is that, and women are this, and men are that. Like, can you see how low vibrational that is? That's the same thing we do when we're actually just not able to hold a field of love for someone else's imperfections because we don't imperfectly love or perfectly love all of it, our imperfections. We're not willing to allow and love our imperfections. So there is a difference between holding space and honoring yourself of the energy that you get to be around, because like I can see how sometimes we can get pulled and be like, let's say for instance you're uncomfortable in a bar. For me, it's not really my scene. So it's like if I was to be like, well, I need to keep working through my shit to be comfortable in this bar, and you're also like, well, I can just walk out of the bar and I can go down the street to the temple and I can be in the temple where it's like high vibe, high frequency. Yet, can you be in the bar and actually have no story or judgment or attachment to anyone there, what they're choosing or experiencing, what their experience is, and you can actually be a field of love and acceptance standing in the bar. You can be a field of light, and you can say, cool, I love you all, and I'm actually going to go now choose what feels really good for me, which is I'm going to go vibrate high in the temple. That's a difference, okay? So, you know, around all of it, aligning to being in harmony with all beings and all things. See how I had this idea of like, I'm going to be in harmony with all beings. I'm going to be divine unconditional love. And the journey it took me down was really the journey with myself, of being fully with myself. And these are the simplest, tiniest ways. Like I was with my girlfriend. She's a gorgeous woman. She is, and guys, using these examples, it's like of where the universe shows that I'm not in harmony with it. It's like, these are funny, silly little things because they can be really easy now, but it's like, comparison, right? And you guys will, some of you might have even seen this. I was doing a live with my girl, Katerina, who's one of my, divine, beautiful besties, that she's just such a gorgeous reflection. And we were going to share on something we were feeling passionate about, sharing some truth with around our, gene keys and our divinity keys course. And she comes, we were in Hawaii. This was actually about, a month back. And she comes down, she's gorgeous. And my human thought was like, oh, I can never be that beautiful. I can never I can never compare. So why try? And these are the funny things. The moment I had the thought, I was like, oh, sweetie, you know what? You are so divinely beautiful and gorgeous. You know what human thought just came up for me? and again, human thought, what thought came up for me was that, you know, I could never compare to you. You're so beautiful. So I'm in here going, why would I even try to like, blah, blah, you know, because I am way more comfortable being like, I'm grungy on the island and I'm comfortable in the dirt. I'm comfortable because the way I was raised, and even it was funny as I evolved to making millions or having $1 million clients. I remember getting the feedback one time. Someone told me how one of my $1 million clients had kind of talked to one of her friends that was a good friend of mine, and she was like, yeah, she had kind of mentioned, she's like, it's funny, Marci doesn't have like the Gucci bags and I don't even know the words for them, guys. I don't know the labels. I don't know the names. Or like, she doesn't really have the bags and the shoes and those things like that represent being in that financial game, like being in that place. And her perception was, well, that's a part of the image, and that's a part of when you make it, and then you give yourself those things. And I was thinking, well, yeah, because I never even fucking thought about that. Like, I was more like, cool, how many more schools can I fund? How many more programs can we support? Like, because we still, even as we've shifted from where we were creating money, I still have commitments to feeding the homeless, to schools that we fund, to villages that we fund, to programs, and they used to just be like based out of like, instead of just when we make money, you get money. It's now just like I'm committed to paying these things every month to support these. So it's like that's where you know, I never really was raised in this idea of, or felt very girly, felt very feminine. And that's why my journey also went from being very like hardcore, I got this bitch, let's do this, I'm going to rock this out, independent and strong, and operating from the masculine, to aligning and finding and accepting myself. And this is why I share with you guys authentically, where it was scary for me to be seen, because I felt like I was so ugly. I grew up believing I was so ugly. And it's been this lifetime of working on loving myself and fully allowing myself to be seen and heard, and being like, you know what, whatever shows up is me. I'm unapologetically being me, and I'm continuing to lean into unconditionally accepting myself. So here's a reflection of how it will still, the thoughts will pop up, and this is where we're gonna still have our imperfections, meaning our journey that wants to continue to show up. It's just a part of our evolution in it. And so, you know, instantly as I see Katerina, my thought is like, oh my God, you're so beautiful. Why should I even try? Like I would catch how when we'd go to do a picture for something, she like naturally is like a natural model. And I was like I didn't know how to be with that. And I spoke it out loud, that I was like, hey, I notice, you know, what my pattern is that when I'm with a very beautiful woman who, again, now I love myself so much that I only see them as love and beauty. I actually am like, wow, you're so beautiful. This is so gorgeous. I love you being this unique being. Where in the past me, I would have been like, oh, I don't want to be around that because it makes me feel small. So there's been a whole evolution. And yet I would recognize that when they went sexy, I would go silly. I'd go, hey, because that felt more comfortable for me. Yes, Katerina is a beautiful soul. Thank you. She is. I love her. I adore her. She's truly one of my divine soul companions. And so, guys, I'm sharing like how there's, even though you saw the picture that was like the pretty picture of us both being like, hey, right? If I was like, that was what was behind it. It was my imperfection. It was my shit that maybe I'm not beautiful enough and I don't know how to pose sexy, or I don't know how to totally claim this. And so I'll let her be that because she can just be that and I'll just be this. And there was a leaning into being like, how can I embrace my sexiness? How can I, and like going through the years of evolution I have, to where it's like when I was at events or things and I just like let myself like do this whole thing, and I get women and people that come up to me like, oh my gosh, like you're so free, you're so like, it's so sexy. And that was a whole new evolution to myself, of letting myself just move and feel and be fully seen and fully express, and actually embracing that kundalini and the sensuality. And so there's been a massive evolution for me of going from, you know, like rejecting my body to loving and being at complete peace with my body and fully being seen and fully heard. And these are just the things I want to share with you guys, because this is the shit that I'm saying that might not have always been spoken, right? Like it's the imperfections. And as I was sharing, even just being with my girlfriend the other day, she's just such this unique like little fairy that's gorgeous, and I keep calling these gorgeous beings to continue to go, where else inside me do I not feel like I'm that? And it was like realizing where we can unconsciously go into comparison, which, remember guys, comparison is the thief of all joy. Comparison is just stripping us from our joy, because it's saying I should be that. And this is where I wanted you to really recognize and hear, where it's like Instagram and the pretty pictures and all that is all just kind of, it's make-believe. It's just showing the parts of our lives that we want to say, here, this is, you can see the pretty part, and I want to take full responsibility to that too, and share as much as I can of the unpretty parts, and that the imperfections are perfect, and I'm perfectly imperfect, and I'm always going to be growing and evolving. I'm never going to have it figured out. I'm never going to be stagnant. It's part of my design to just, you know, to do this, is to share all of this. And that's what I got to become totally like at peace with, is like, you know what, like, this is my calling. This is what I'm here for. And if I try to like fight it and I try to be something else, and let me try to be the perfect role model for you, that actually doesn't feel good. It's not in alignment. It's not into like the truth of the message of the divinity of who you are that I know is there. And I'm actually keeping myself in bondage, and I'm keeping myself trying to stay on some sort of pedestal for everyone to be enough and validated in some sort of identity, instead of liberating myself and freeing myself of the shackles completely by being like, hey y'all, here's all the things that scare the fuck out of me. Here's all the imperfections. And you are perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect. You're all of it. And can we share more of that message? Can we look for that to be the truth, so you're not seeking to get to a place of having it all, but you're actually totally present in your moment by moment experience now. You're actually unconditionally accepting of yourself now, and whatever it is that you are experiencing, and knowing that is the only way to receive even greater. There we go. See, there's the wind blowing off, so hang on one second. Yeah. And I get to be aware of the time, guys. I've got to wrap it up pretty soon. But the thing that I really want to share, and just, you know, lean, oh, there. This is fun, right? You guys get winded around with the Maui wind. I mean, there's so much to this journey, and I really intend to, this is why in my Best Life Tribe, like, I really want to just pop up and be like, hey guys, this is the shit that I've noticed, and this is what I'm experiencing, and share, because there's so much to the lesson of like trusting and surrendering and moving with flow and ease and beauty and joy and all of this. And then the main thing that I, you know, really want to share with everything that's felt really true to be in here in this space is also to stop trying to fix it. Like, there's the part of us that we just want to fix it. It's like why I dove deep into the mud, and I want to understand, I want to fix it. But what I want to actually allow or shift from is, there's nothing to fix. I'm actually going to fix it by witnessing it. I'm gonna hold the space in the field of love by witnessing it and being with it. And that's saying to myself, it's okay, baby. I got you. It's okay that you feel all this. There's nothing wrong with this. It doesn't have to be shamed or blamed or judged. It's okay. Like, it's just, this is just part of that process. The pain gets to be part of the pleasure. The, you know, chaos is really just you cleansing the next level of alignment to, you know, and to get to the clarity of what you really are creating or requiring or receiving. And it's just permission. It's just witnessing it is the way we fix it, if you really want to say that you're like, because I'm always like, well, and what would that, how would I, there we go, hi guys, like, how would that be, like, what would I get to create and do so that I can align to that? And it's actually, I get to love, it's always the alignment is, am I fully in love right now? And when you look at, am I fully in love with every experience, every person, everything inside me? Am I unconditionally in acceptance of myself, which then allows me to be in unconditional acceptance of others? That is how we align to the abundance of it all. To having, it's like me knowing I am worthy of living in luxury and fully supported and all the prosperity. And we've shifted the way that we're again now, like I said, having our programs that were thousands of dollars and literally like so out of reach for people now being like $200 and $400 and $20, because it like became the shift of like, I'm here to serve and let everyone hear this and be able to receive this. And so knowing, and still there's this other way that I'm doing that, I'm still worthy of receiving the prosperity. It doesn't mean I have to create a settle or a sacrifice. It means I get to allow myself to align and trust and surrender to the other ways that I am of my fullest being of service. And that would be me being with all of me and with all of you. And that is the true message. And what I really just want to maybe share as to close this off, because of the time frame that I get to wrap up, is that it was, let's see, I'm in Maui now. I was in Kauai, and it's like I got called there to be a part of the whole hurricane experience, to heal a lot of little girl things. And my son, Skylar, I'm gonna cry already. I love my babe. Skylar, my oldest, who, if you don't know that much about my story, my growth partners are living in Utah for the first time. I've had them full-time their entire lives. Skylar's 15 and Gavin is 11. Gavin the Great and my Sky Guy. And for the first time, they're living in Utah with their dad as part of their growth experience and journey. And that's why I was called to like go do my journey all over the world. And giving myself permission to completely be free. Being a mom gets to look like whatever way we want it to look like. And Skylar called me knowing the hurricane was coming in and said, Mom, he's like, I just wanted to talk to you and make sure you're okay. He's like, it would really suck if you died in the hurricane. And what came up in I mean, we have the most beautiful, divine, authentic conversations. Those of you know, of like, as I've done date nights with my boys for years, one-on-one, and we talk about all things, because all things are okay. In fact, we hold a space of all things are accepted. Not just happiness is accepted, it's all things are accepted. And the thing that came through me and like was so true and real for me, and I felt so blessed to not only witness for myself, but also to share with him, was that I was like, babes, first off, I acknowledged and knew that he was doing it out of love for me, that he didn't want me to die because he loved me and he was concerned, he wanted to care. And I said, thank you, sweetie, for letting me know how much you care and that you want me to be safe. And I said, authentically, it's like, what's true for me is, if it is time for me to transition, I am at 100% peace and love with my life. Like, my life has been amazing. I'm like, I am so at peace with the life experience I've had. If I was to transition, I'd be at complete peace with it. I have no regrets, not one. And there's liberation and freedom in this. And again, because I've accepted all the things we would see as imperfect, everything I've ever done that I would have shamed or blamed in the past is actually, I see now as perfect. And thank the people involved that gave me the gifts to learn the things I got to learn to be the holy human that I am now, and the multidimensional vibrational being that I am now, right? So, getting to be at complete peace with my life, I was like, the fact that I was like, babes, I have had the most amazing life experience. Like, my life is so liberating, and it's it's like, because I've chosen to be free and to do what served me, what felt good. And I said, the only thing that feels sad for me around that, if that were to be the case, is that I wouldn't physically get to be with you anymore. I wouldn't physically be with you and Gavin, and I would just get to energetically be messing with you and be giving you loves. And I'm like, because I 100% honor you to have your life experience, and I would only want to serve and support you in having the life experience you want. But please know, if I'm ever to transition, I am at pure peace and like so much love for the life that I've had. And so for me to be in that place, guys, for me to witness, I was like, wow, that's really what came from my soul. Like, it wasn't just like, well, babes, don't worry. And we don't play that game. We just speak authentically what's there. And what came from my soul was like, actually, I'm so happy. Life is so blissed and blessed. I've had such an amazing, beautiful life experience. If I was a transition, I was a transition. It would just be what it is. And I don't know how many people can say that or can be in that feeling about their life experience. And that's where I recognize, like, I am here to be an imperfect role model of being in so much love and acceptance of all of our human experience and journey that allows us to align to only receiving more love and more joy and more peace and more prosperity and more ease and more flow and more bliss. And in one of the cards I pulled the other day as I was doing ceremony, it nailed it, and it phrased it so beautifully that I've been holding on to this phrase for myself. And that it said, you desire to joyfully serve the divine. And I was like, yeah, like, joyfully serve. I want to joyfully be in service to humanity and the divine, because I am so fulfilled, and my dharma and all of this, I'm so fulfilled in doing that. And it says, so you desire to serve joyfully to the divine and swim in a constant state of bliss. Now I replaced swim with float because I feel like that's even more easy. So it was like, and swim in a constant state of bliss, and from that bliss receive everything you require. I'm like, that is literally the sum of my life right now. Like that's the sum of my what I believe my experience to be, and feeling all emotions, creating all things. It's not like I'm only this and I'm not that. So, you know, it's more that as I recognize that I am worthy of being so fully supported. I'm worthy of all the luxury. I'm worthy to go, and this is where I'm being drawn. I get to go wherever I feel called and stay and be in whatever experience I feel called to be in. So it's like, and these things are showing up for the greatest evolution of my soul, for even more of my capacity, even more of my, you know, even more self-healing that then allows me to be a vessel of this expression, or a stand for this imperfect experience that we're having, this perfectly imperfectness, etc., as I keep sharing. And so, like, even for me, I'm about to, or when I was just barely in, when the hurricane was coming through, or I didn't even know, actually, after being with Katarina and what we were called to do, like Isis activations and eclipse and portals, and it was for her birthday, and that all felt awesome. And I was like, I don't know where I'm going next. Literally didn't know to the day, like, she's leaving, I'm supposed to leave tomorrow, and I have no idea where I'm going. And got called to the other side of the island, and really was like, cool, I'm gonna be on the volcanic rock. I feel like, you know, I get to do some deep root chakra activations and just be in this space. I was there 24 hours, and we'd set up 10 days of me being there, and everything in me said, go to Kauai, go to Kauai, go to Kauai, go to Kauai. And it even said my friend's name that I knew had a house there. I didn't even know if they were there, if they'd rent out their house, what was happening, but it was just like, go to Kauai, these people, go to Kauai, these people. And I was like, okay, literally message, and within an hour, we had set up the house for me to rent. My assistant had set up a flight the next day, and we let go of the 10 days I was supposed to stay there, just because that's where intuition was calling me. Well, then I'm there, and it's beautiful and awesome. I'm experiencing greatness, and it's gorgeous, and I love Kauai, and I'm like, cool, I'm so excited to see why I got called here. Like, bliss and bless, love and joy. And then within, you know, the very next day, we find out, oh, guess what? Massive hurricane coming, and it's coming towards you. My little girl's like, oh, fuck. Because it triggered all of the deep imprinting. I was raised in so much fear, and that you're gonna die in a world gonna end situation in survival mode, and there's gonna be someone hiding under your car that's gonna slit your legs, and in the car that's gonna slit your neck, and you're gonna get taken, and da-da-da. That's why I had kidnappers, rapers, stalkers, all those experiences, because I called in all these fearful things because of that fear. So hence, notice again, I have declared I'm going to be in harmony with all beings and all things and all experiences. So the universe says, okay, let's just heal this one. Let's just put you where that next level is for your healing, and recognizing I wasn't alone. I had angels around me, and I was fully supported, and I found like that there were friends on the island who wanted to make sure I was okay, and like everything showed up. And so the thought, I keep catching myself wanting to say human thought, the thought was, well, if I'm so tapped in and I'm such a divine, highly evolved being, why didn't I just go to Thailand? Because originally we were like, ooh, maybe Thailand feels good, was feeling into it. And it was like, no, Kauai. And I'm like, why would I, again, see, I get called, and sometimes like this is my design, I get called to like the shit to figure it out, to then have the healing and have the next level of alignment. And so it was like, why would I go to Kauai when I was just going to get here to just experience being literally grounded in a place, getting dumped on with a hurricane, and seeing everyone freak out, like, you know, from the gas stations filling up on gas to grabbing everything from the stores. And it was because I literally, the universe was like, sweetie, so that you can heal this. And I got put in Kauai versus where I was, and this is the end bigger game to see, where I was on the island in Kona. I was literally on the beach, over the water, glass house, exactly where the hurricane was coming, and it hit hard. And I got called, before even knowing about a hurricane, to go be sat in a beautiful, gorgeous space in Kauai, you know, where I was totally safe, and then got to do all this stuff for the collective in the island there, and this grid work and this stuff that literally the hurricane died way down, was hardly anything. And I got to deal with all of the things that came up around that and heal that. And it's just like being here. I got put in a space with all these people that are amazing, divine, conscious beings, for me to see where else I was not in harmony, where else I was creating blocking, but the universe sweetly and is like, here you go, baby. Like, it loves me. It wants to give me but it's giving me what everyone else would label in their experience as shit, it's actually like my shit is like the most beautiful thing. I can't imagine the levels of joy and bliss that I experience now. I wouldn't know how to tap into that level if I hadn't been through those depths. And so it's like, as far as you're willing to let yourself go here in the depths of your imperfections, in the depths of all you're feeling, is how big and expanded and high and fulfilling and beautiful and glorious and juicy and sensual, there's my timer, it is that you're able to go there. And so all of this message, you guys, was really just it's liberating myself. It's freedom and liberation, because we can only choose it for ourselves, and hoping to become or be more of an imperfect example, a perfect example of imperfection being embraced, being in unconditional acceptance of myself, being in harmony with all beings and all things and all experiences, and that I can be in a place where really I do feel completely 100% plus beyond at peace with the life experience that I've had and the life experience that I am having, and no regrets, and being, so in honor and love of that and everything that comes into the reflection of that. So I feel like this was definitely, oh my gosh, like I don't even know how long we went, but there's so, to capture and come back to just allowing yourself to be in happiness in the reality, because happiness is our reality without expectation, right? That would be unconditional acceptance of self. Happiness would be our reality, the reality that we're in right now, without any attachment or story or expectation or idea or program running. When we just be here, be in this experience, and choose again, because it would be only happiness, because we wouldn't have a story that anything was wrong. And that is truly what I want to give you guys and want to choose to show up as, is being divinely in my imperfections, sharing all of it, being completely liberated. Let's stop looking towards the shiny objects and just the selected pictures we choose on Instagram. And I'm so aware of it now for myself, as how I can embrace that even more and be with that even more, and share all of these levels of being exposed and being completely seen for the imperfect human that is perfectly experiencing all of it, all of the emotions and all of that. So I'm gonna sign off to be able to be in alignment with the commitments for the space and different things. And I just want to share with you guys how much I love you. I appreciate every one of you being here, because I never know what's going to happen. I just have chosen to be an open channel of letting whatever come through, and I just felt so much fear coming up around little girl gets to be so exposed because I really I'm not perfect. I get to be the imperfect role model, and that's freedom, and there's liberation in that. And so I appreciate those of you here. I know we're called here for a reason. I appreciate the beings that you're being on this planet. I appreciate the divine, vibration that we are together, because together we totally can rise our humanity. It is together in love. Together in love we rise. So start with unconditional self-acceptance for yourself, and that is how we hold that field of acceptance of others' imperfections, what their experiences are, how they're moving through their journey, and together we can rise in love. I love you guys so much. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day.